This is your economics video on the law of demand. Supply and demand is the basic setup of how markets work in a free market system. In this video, we're going to focus just on the demand and what that means. So the demand is part of a market. Remember, we've talked about markets before, and this is just a group of buyers and sellers for any particular product, and they have to be both willing and able to buy or sell. A market is made up of buyers, and buyers are what make up the demand line. But in a free market, competitive, or capitalistic country, we are not just striving to have a market, but competitive markets. It only truly works if there's lots of buyers and lots of sellers. In fact, so many buyers and sellers that no one buyer or seller can control the price in any way. If a buyer decides that they want to control the price, well then all of their customers would just go to a competitor who's offering it for a cheaper price. And there is no buyer that has enough power that they can then control the price or quantity of the market as well. Ideally, we would want perfect competition. And in perfectly competitive markets, it means that all of the goods are exactly the same. It doesn't matter where you buy it from, which particular seller or competitor you're buying it from. The good is exactly the same, and therefore the buyer is willing to buy that product from any of the people that are selling the product. And there are so many buyers and sellers that no one has an effect on the market price. Everybody is what's referred to as a price taker. You have to take the price that the market sets because the sellers cannot control their own prices. Now, capitalism is not perfect, so we don't have truly perfectly competitive markets in the United States, but we are striving to get there, and we do want as much competition as possible. The more competition that there is, it drives down the price of the good while driving the quality of the good up. And that is beneficial if you want customers to buy products from you. And that's what makes the free market work, or at least we think the free market would work better than other types of economic systems. So let's talk about demand. Demand is the behavior of buyers in this market. And buyers, of course, are people who are willing and able to buy the product that you're looking at. The quantity demanded is one amount of quantity of units that buyers are willing to buy at any certain price. So if you know that a product is going to be $10, then there's a certain amount of customers out there that are willing to buy that product at $10. And if the product goes down to $5, then there might be more total people willing to buy a higher quantity of goods. The law of demand is the claim that the quantity demanded of a good will go down when the price of the good goes up, everything else being equal. That means that there's a negative correlation between price and quantity. If the price is high, buyers don't want to buy as much of it. And if the price is low, buyers do want to buy more. That is a negative correlation, and that is also why the demand line is downward sloping. So here's an example. For supply and demand markets, we always put price on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis. You always want to put a title on your graph, so I put this one, the market for ice cream cones. Now, a demand line is downward sloping, and I've also labeled this demand 1. This particular line on this graph extends all the way from one axis to another, although demand lines do not have to do that. This demand line is also perfectly straight or a constant slope. Demand lines also don't have to be straight. They can also be curved or arced, hence why some people call them demand curves. Now, if this is our original demand for ice cream cones, demand can also increase or decrease. And that would mean the entire demand, so all of the customers who want to buy ice cream cones, there can be an increase in that total market demand or a decrease as well. So sometimes our demand will shift to the right. Anytime a line shifts to the right, it is called an increase. So in this case, we have an increase in demand for ice cream cones. Something has happened and all of the buyers want to buy more units or quantity of ice cream cones. Demand can also shift to the left. Anytime a line shifts to the left, it is called a decrease. So this is a decrease in demand. something has happened in this market that all of the customers who were willing to buy ice cream cones now want to buy less ice cream cones in total. So here's another example. On this one, there is both the line on the left, but then on the right, there is a schedule of various prices and how much quantity is demanded in the entire market based on a certain price. So here, if these were packs of gum, you'll notice that if packs of gum are selling for $0, that does not mean that people want to buy infinity packs of gum. Some people don't like gum and therefore are not in the market at all. But even people in the market for gum, at some point you don't have place to store it. It's going to go stale before you can chew it. So just because something's free doesn't mean you want significant amounts of it. And you'll notice that as the price rises, the amount of customers that want to buy a pack of gum at $6 a pack are much fewer than if it was at $1 a pack. So this is a downward sloping demand line. And you can also just graph the information from the chart there onto your graph.